The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We are here to present a presentation by Rockton Software today on Auditor, SmartFill, and Dynamics GP Toolbox. So I'm really excited to have them joining us. And just to do a couple of introductions, myself, I'm Chelsea Schlepp, Client Strategy Manager with Dynamics. We also have Erin Holcomb, who's the other Client Strategy Manager on the line, and Alicia Weigel from Rockton Software, and she's going to be doing our presentation. And there we go. All right, so a couple of housekeeping, like I said, introductions were there. We are recording this webinar, so if you do need a copy of it later, or if you want to share that with anyone, we will have that available on our website shortly after the webinar today. And then as far as questions, if you have any questions, we'll be monitoring the chat the entire time. So please feel free to put a question in the GoToWebinar box, and we'll monitor those and get them asked and answered as soon as we have a good stopping point. Now, the last thing I have to talk about is our Vision 2017 event. If you are not already registered, we really encourage you to attend. It's coming up in, gosh, just a few weeks now. We are really excited. We're having Kyle Petty as our keynote speaker. We're going to have, I believe, 16 concurrent sessions on various topics relating to GP. So we really encourage everyone to attend. We do offer CPE credits if you're a CPA, so that's another exciting thing to take advantage of. So again, the website is right here, interdyneartist.com/vision2017. If you just go to our website, you can find it under events as well. And I guess with that, I will turn it over to Alicia and let her get started talking about the fun Rockton products.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you guys just for having us present to your customers. And thank you, customers, for being on the line today. We always appreciate that opportunity from our partners. So my name is Alicia Weigel. I am with Rockton Software. I am our technical sales team lead. So I probably talked to some of you, if not all of you, in the past. I typically attend the Vision event, and I will be doing that again in April, so I'm very excited for that. We are presenting 3 of our products to you guys today. These are kind of the top 3 that we sell and the biggest requests that we've gotten from customers of Dynamics, so we wanted to give you guys a chance to take a look at these. So I'm not going to slide you guys to death. I just have a couple here. So we're mainly going to spend time just looking at what the products do, and I'll take questions in between each of the products, and then we'll save a little bit of time at the end too, just in case you guys have anything else you want to talk about. So we're going to start with SmartFill, and I always start with this one because, number one, it is our most popular product by far and away. We've got about 22,000 GP users using this product alone. So the reason that that number is so high is because really anyone that touches GP in a day-to-day application of any kind can use SmartFill. And what we call it is our Google or our Bing style search tool, which kind of means nothing until you actually see how it works. So I'm just going to get right into GP and show you guys. So we're going to open up GP here and show you how it works. So the first thing I always like to do is show an account, because pretty much everybody has to spend some time in an account. And if you think about your regular day in GP, how many times a day do you guys think that you typically click on the little magnifying glass? Anywhere in the system, it's probably more than once or twice a day, I would guess. Even in my day-to-day, I click on that thing probably 200 times a day. With SmartFill, I don't have to click on it at all. So basically what the tool does is it's going to return those key records, so things like accounts, vendors, customers, employees, items, anything like that. It's going to return those results to you without having to click on this button, and we let you search based on what you know about what you're looking for. So when we think of an account, you might think of an account type that you know of, or you know part of a segment. Maybe you've got your top 5 memorized or your top 20 memorized. We basically speed that up by letting you give us that little piece of information. So if you know that you are looking for a labor account, you can type labor, hit tab, and in just a fraction of a second, SmartFill goes through the entire chart of accounts and brings you back just labor accounts. Doesn't have to be the first part of the account by any means. It can be anywhere in that description. I could be searching in this case on the alias or any part of that account number too. And if I've got lots and lots of labor accounts or cash accounts, I can subset search this too. So I could say, okay, I'm looking for my COGS labor accounts, and I can hit tab, and then it brings it down even smaller. So I go to 3 results instead of 15. And from there, you can just double click and pick the account, and then that's going to fill in for you. So right there, you can see that's a faster way to search than waiting for this list to populate. We had one customer that had 1.5 million active accounts. So for them, they wouldn't even really consider GP as an option unless they could find a way to search it more efficiently. Now, say you know, like I said, part of a segment or you know, part of the number itself, so we can do 1130. I only have one 1130 account, so it fills the window in for me. I don't even have to look at that make a selection window. It's just going to auto-fill that window. And this is going to work all over the system. So I had mentioned vendors, customers, items, things like that, but it's not just in cards windows, it's also in the transaction windows. So I'm going to show you one more here. We'll run out to payroll and just look at an employee and show you how that would work. So we can grab an employee here and we can type John. You probably know your employees' names, but you might not know their ID numbers. So if I know I'm looking for a John, I can type John, hit tab. This will go through all the employees, and it's going to look, hey, there's their first name, there's their last name. I can search their class, but I can see, hey, we've got 2 Johns and a Grace Johnson. Which one do I want to use? So it's very, very easy to customize what you're searching on. And we see customers doing that all the time because they don't have to be a developer or know how to code anything to customize your search. So I'm going to pull open a search. And let's take a look here at vendors. So think of the different things you might want to search on. I'm looking here at my vendor. If I wanted to search my vendors by their location, maybe by their contact information, anything like that, city, state, zip, basically anything out of that vendor master, I can add that as a searchable field. So I can say, hey, I want to search that vendor master, and the next time I look for a vendor, I want to be able to look for them also by their city. So we can plug in city here, say we want to search it and display it. This is that make a selection window that popped up, so we can modify how the columns look and make things bigger or smaller. But I can save that, and now I'm able to search my vendors by their city. And you can search up to 10 criteria across the board. So you can add that to all these different objects. And if I make this a little bigger, these are the out-of-the-box objects that SmartFill comes with. So if you remember back to that slide, it said it already had 4,000 plus predefined lookups. That means that just out of these places, so accounts, addresses, customers, contracts, all of these, there's over 4,000 of those little magnifying glasses that we've got SmartFill set up and ready to go for you. All you have to do is tweak them a little bit so that they work the way that you want them to, or you can create your own too. So if you use a third-party product, maybe you use, McCorma or binary streams, multi-entity management, collections management, any of those other products, and you guys will see lots of them at the conference, you're able to search those with SmartFill as well. So we're just going to close this guy out, and I'll show you guys quick how the vendors look now. So we'll go to a vendor. If I know I'm looking for a travel vendor, I can type travel, hit tab, There's the make a selection window, and now there's that city that we've added. So I get to see all of my travel vendors, and then they've also got their cities in here. So I could search Fargo or Dallas or Denver and get those same results. So that is kind of what I wanted to show you guys on the SmartFill side. So keeping in mind you can use it at the transaction level as well. Are there any questions that you guys have at all on SmartFill?
I do not have any questions in the queue at this time.
Okay. All right, so we're going to move on to Auditor. And this is probably my personal favorite product that we sell, because back in the day I used to be in support at Microsoft, and I was always getting calls from customers saying, I really need to know, when someone changes this information for a vendor, or I'd really like to know, who added this new account to my general ledger. Well, I wasn't a mind reader, and I couldn't go back in time to see that for them, and unless they have something that was auditing for them, I couldn't tell them who made those changes. Even by looking in tables and stuff, you can't always see that information. So this product solves that entire problem for our end users. So we're going to jump in back into GP here, and we're going to show you guys just a couple of examples. Again, we'll pull up our vendors here, and this time let's search who I have set up in Chicago. So we'll use a little SmartFill while we're at it, and we'll grab Inner City Electric. So the first thing to think of with Auditor, and specifically with the Rockton Auditor, is that we are field specific. So you can look at any field on any window, third-party products included, and track any of those fields that you might change. So we've got lots and lots of fillable fields on this window, and I have several of them audited. So I can go through and I can make changes, but I'm only capturing those changes that I care about. So you don't have to take a snapshot of an entire table or of a whole window. We just show you, hey, this is the information that you wanted us to track, and then you don't have to sift through a lot of extra data when it comes to the reporting side. So we'll go through and we'll make a few changes. And let's pick on Erin today. So we're going to change the vendor check name, which is typically kind of a no-no. And we're going to change it to Erin because she would like an extra paycheck this week. Wouldn't we all? And we'll change some of the city information. So we'll send this to Charlotte, North Carolina. And we'll call it good with those few changes there. Now, you always have two options with every change that you're tracking for. The first option is you can audit silently in the background, which basically means that the end user who's making changes on a window does not know that they're being audited. So they don't notice a slowdown in their performance. There's no flash on the screen or anything like that. It just happens, goes to our reporting side, and that's that. The second option, which a lot of people really like, is you can ask your user why they made a change. So we're going to show you both of those. I'm going to hit Save here, and as soon as I do, my Auditor Note Maintenance window pops open. And this was specific to that vendor check name field that I changed. And we're basically asking the end user, give us the reason why you changed it from Inner City Electric to Aaron Daniels. So from here, my end user, in order to get out of this window, has to fill in this information. So you guys could set up some predefined reasons if you want to, if there's going to be a regular reason why something gets changed, or that end user can free text type in here as well. So we're going to just say that Erin was committing fraud, and she's very honest about it. And then we can apply that note to the change, and then that's all the end user has to do with Auditor. They can go on their day, make more changes, and then me as an audit administrator, I can go and do my reporting on that change. And all of our reporting is held right inside of a GP standard smart list. So we make it very easy for you. You don't have to have any outside reporting skills or anything like that. And if I drag this over, I forgot to bring this up, down in the lower right-hand corner, this is a message that goes out in real time to anyone that you guys have set up as an audit administrator. So that's not your SA user, it's not the same thing. But it's basically a notification saying, hey, this sensitive field that you wanted to know about was just changed. So we pop that up on their GP screen, we can send it out to them in an email, and we also save it in a message center. So that's specific to the audit administrators. They can drill into this message and actually pull up the exact same things I'm going to be getting to here in a second in SmartList. But this is a real-time notification, so you can get that on any field that you're auditing. All right, but back to the reporting side. So like I said, all in GP Standard SmartList. You don't need SmartList Builder or Designer, but if you have those, you can use those too. And we create the little Auditor folder for you. So once you install it, that's there. And if we expand that folder out, we've got 3 subfolders in here. So our audits are going to be everything system-wide. So when you create an audit, you don't have to create the wheel 100 different times. Those audits are going to be across all of your different companies. So you just decide which companies you want to turn them on in. So we keep all of that company information in one folder. E-sign approvals is included with the purchase of Auditor. And what that allows you to do is actually put kind of a workflow of sorts in place so that, for example, if I didn't want anyone changing that vendor check name field without an approval first, I can set that lockup, and as soon as Erin tries to make that change, it's going to pop up a message that she needs a second person to approve that, and then that whole activity is kept separate in this folder. So we know who requested approval, who gave it, why. If they canceled it and said, nope, we're not going to give you that approval, that's all kept in this folder for you. And then the last folder is our security audits. And basically what that does is we automatically track all of the security changes in GP for you. So if you need to give an auditor everything that's been going on in your GP security, so things like creating a new user, modifying security to a role, giving someone new security to a task or role, anything like that is considered a security change, and we'll track that for you if you mark our little checkbox, and we'll keep all that separate in this folder. So you don't have to set anything up, it just kind of goes automatically for you. So we're going to focus on the audit side. And you're going to see I've got my little asterisks here. This is going to be everything that I've been auditing. And then I can also create little favorites. So these are going to be kind of my quote-unquote reports. So things that I'm going to be checking in on a regular basis, I can create favorites using just the search criteria like you would with any other SmartList to get those favorite audit reports. So if I want to see every time Chelsea has made a change in the last 6 months, I could do a search and then save that search as a favorite. If you want to see all of the changes that have happened to your vendors, or maybe all of the modifications that have happened to sales invoices, things like that, all of that can be tracked and saved as a favorite. So here's kind of a little snapshot of the information we give you just as a whole. And then we can parse this out using the search. So I'm just going to look at today's changes. So I'm going to come in and search by date. I can search just today, hit OK, and voila. I did a few changes on my payroll side today, and then I also changed that city, state, and vendor check name on that vendor's record we looked at. So if I want to zoom in and get a little bit more in-depth information, I can do that. And once I open up my audit inquiry, this is kind of the guts of the product. This is why everybody wants it. You always get a date and a timestamp so you know exactly when the change occurred. Very important. The user is the person that was logged in making the change. We'll show you the workstation they were logged into, company and database that it affected, and then we show you the type of audit it was. We give you 3 different options for types of audits. So the first audit type we have is a form audit, And what that is basically we use a wizard, so you just kind of have to point and click to the fields that you want to audit. So we help you build it that way, and those are going to track changes the second you tab off of a field. So you don't even have to click save, delete, post, anything like that. It's as soon as you make that change and tab off, we capture that change. The audit that we did was a table audit. Basically means we had to save the change, actually confirm that that change was legit, and then once that's occurred, it writes the audit. So save, delete, post, void. And then the third type is our SQL table audit. So with a SQL table audit, we kind of do that full 360-degree protection around your system, because that's going to watch for things that might happen on the back side of your system. So if you have an integration that writes direct to your tables and pushes transactions in, you can track for that. If someone is running an update, insert, delete statement through SQL, we can track that. And even products that are outside of GP that are on that same instance of your GP server, we can track those products for you too. So we really kind of add a lot of functionality by doing those SQL table audits too. Then we move on to your event types, and you can always track 3 types of events. So adding a new record, deleting an existing record, or editing an existing record. So it'll say one of those 3 things here so you know what was going on. And then we just have a name for it. Product, we'll show you that. So again, if you've got a third-party product, we'll say, hey, this was actually affecting your multi-entity management product. So we'll show you which one. We'll show you the field that was changed, the table that field lives in, the record key. In this case, that was that vendor ID we changed. The old value, the new value, and then any notes that you required that end user to write. If you didn't require a note, for example, on that address change, then that field just stays blank. So it's a really clean look at exactly what was going on in your system. So that is kind of where you would do about 99% of your reporting. But this last summer, we added an additional piece of functionality because we were getting customers that wanted to use this to also kind of track who was posting transactions or batches in their general ledger. That was something auditors were asking for. So we created what we call the Journal Voucher Roadmap. So under Inquiry, if you go to Auditor, you'll find this Journal Voucher Roadmap. And this is looking specifically for posted transactions in your general ledger. But basically, we give you a place where you can show who created a batch, who approved the batch, who posted the batch, and when those things happened. And you can search those based on batch numbers, journal entry numbers, who was approving them, basically any of that information. But if I pull up, I know I've got one out here, a journal voucher or a journal entry, and I redisplay this. This gives me kind of all of that information at the summary level, and I can also switch this to a detail level. But I can see this journal entry was put into this batch created by the SA user. It was posted by Sarah on this date. I didn't have an approval set up, so that piece stays blank. If I want to see the accounts and debit and credit information, I can look at this in detail and then pull this up that way. And all of this can be printed out. So if you need to be able to show an auditor that, hey, we have those checks and balances, it's not the same person, you can pull up a range of journal entries at that point and print this out just so that you have that information kind of at your fingertips without having to create an SSRS report or go pull information out of SmartLists and SQL. So we've added that functionality. That was in GP 2013 R2 and forward. So if you currently have Auditor and you have one of those versions, as long as you're up to date on the latest build, you will have that piece of functionality in there as well. So that is kind of what I wanted to show you guys on the Auditor side. So I will just stop and see if there's any questions on Auditor at all.
No questions yet.
Okay. I suppose it's just after lunch. Everybody's tired. Okay. So last product we're going to take a look at. that is our Dynamics GP Toolbox. And this is a very cool product in the fact that when you purchase this, you're not just getting one piece of functionality. We have 27 different tools in this product. So it just got a revamp here in early February. So we've added some new tools, and I'm going to show you guys a few of those. So we've added new tools, but these are some of the customer favorites that we have always shipped the product with. So the product really has pieces in here for everyone, but there's a lot of tools around security, because that's kind of a beast, tools around administration, your business processes, and then also the user experience, which is tools that everyone that uses GP can access and use. So I'm going to show you guys my customer favorites in the toolbox. So first thing we'll do is open it up. And like I said, they kind of lay it out nice and easy for you to understand. So there's your security tools, your admins, your business process. And turning on and off a tool or implementing this product is so easy because you can literally just click on the little no smoking sign, make it a checkbox, and the tool is turned on. So you can kind of pick and choose. If you hover over, you get the little blurb about what each tool does. So it's very, very simple as far as setup goes. But I'm going to pop open our Security Manager first, because this is probably one of our customers' favorites right out of the gate. So Security Manager has taken all of your GP security and any advanced security that you might be using and put it all into one grid formatted window for you. So we've tried to simplify figuring out what can your users actually do in GP, which is nice. You can pick your companies. So if you guys have more than one company, they'll all show up here so you can see exactly which company you're working with. Then you get to pick a filter. I'm right now looking at roles, so that's what's filling in on the left-hand side. We do ship it with already predefined filters, and then you can create your own. But who has access to what posting permissions, what smart lists, what windows. So you can just pick which filter you want to see, and then that'll fill in this whole left side. We'll pop out our little legend so you know what our little symbols mean. Then you get to select users. So those are what's going to come in across the top here. So any GP user, if you want to compare one user to another user, if you want to just see one user, if you want to pull in a whole bunch from a department and see what your team has access to, you can do that with Security Manager. So you pull in however many users you want across the top, and then the last thing you select is how much information do you want us to show you. So I'm looking at this really, really granularly. So I'm looking at what reports they can access, what windows, all based on their roles. But you could look at it as roles only, roles and tasks, or like I said, the detail as well. And that's important for choosing that information because this is all going to print out into a report for you. So if you have those auditors that stop by and say, hey, show me everything that Aaron can access in your system, or show me what your SA can get to, is it everything? You're able to print this out in just a couple of minutes and have that report at their fingertips for you. But if we want to make some changes in here, we're looking at this intersection of a role and a user. So that's where we tell whether or not they have access to that role and then to the subsequent pieces underneath. So I'm able to see Ryan doesn't, SA obviously does, Sarah and Tammy both have access. Maybe Ryan's taking over for someone, so I could just right-click here and flip him from no to yes. And then that's going to, in turn, flip the categories and the pieces underneath from no to yes. So these are those specifics in the individual tasks so that you can see, okay, yep, we need to have access. He doesn't have access anywhere else in the system based on security, so he can't access these windows. Now, if you want to see more information about this window, you can simply double-click here. And this is going to open up for us. This is that account category setup window. We know it's a GP product. It's a window. and we can see, okay, it lives only in this one task, and this task is associated with these two roles. So in order to give Ryan access, he'd either have to be the certified accountant or the accounting manager. So it's kind of a nice place to just be able to see, okay, this is how a person could actually get access to a window. So that is one of the features. Second is that you can export all of this to either Excel or a CSV file. So if it is easier for you to manipulate your security and change things for maybe many users, or maybe you're setting up a new company, you can send all of this out to Excel, make your changes there, and then import the sheet back in, and then Security Manager will update with those changes and roll those changes down in GP. And then on the flip side, if you're auditing for that, our auditor is going to pick that up as a security change too. So you'll have that record of who did it and when it happened and all of that. So a couple ways Auditor plays nicely with the Toolbox product. The little pound sign here also indicates that there is a conflict within their segregation of duties. That's another feature of Auditor, so we just give you a place to say, hey, if you're using both of these, let's make it easy for you and say there's a problem in this role and you need to fix that so that there's not a conflict in segregation of duties. So that is some of the main functionality around Security Manager. And the next super popular tool that I like to show people is Inactivity Timeout. Now this is perfect for any of you that have users that log into GP and then they just sit there all day long, hogging a license from someone that could possibly be doing something more productive in the system. So this is going to really help you out with that. You don't have to create a SQL job to go out and find who's not doing anything. You don't have to email your coworker and say, are you done in the system? I really need to do payroll. Let me get in. This tool is going to actually clean those logins out for you. So we've turned it on already, so it's enabled. And all you have to do here is set different times for your different user groups. So we give you the option to put in a default minutes of inactivity before we time them out. So here I'm giving everybody 2 hours, but then it's going to look down at my user groups because this isn't necessarily a one-size-fits-all. Maybe I don't want to log out my SA user after 2 hours. Maybe I don't want to log out payroll after 2 hours. But maybe I've got some folks in my light users group that I don't need to give that much time to. So we set up these user groups. You can include or exclude your users from them. So a lot of people exclude their system administrators, but include this group. And I'm saying this group gets 30 minutes of inactivity before we gracefully log them out. And a graceful logout is the same as going up and doing a file close or clicking on the red X up in the corner. So we're not leaving that user's ID stuck in the table, so the next time they log in, they have to delete that user out, or it doesn't cleanly log them out, so technically you can't log in with your other user. All of that is cleaned up for you so that it's just one seamless process. And a lot of people get concerned about, well, what's an activity? What if I'm in the middle of posting a batch? You don't have to worry about that. This is looking for basically a push or a pull of data from the tables. So if you are posting a batch, if you are entering a transaction, if you are running a report that might take 3 hours to generate, anything like that is seeing that your user activity is actually, there's something happening in the background. So we're not going to log those users out. But if you've got 10 windows sitting wide open on your GP and you just come in and wiggle your mouse around a little bit, that's not an activity, and we're going to log you out. So we're going to close all those windows and log that user out. You do also have the option of scheduling when you want this turned on. So Monday through Friday, I always have this tool turned on so that I know that only my users that are working in the system are in there. But on the weekends, you know, if someone's logging in from home or they're working between soccer practice and groceries on a Saturday, we can leave those users logged in. So this is specific to the individual user groups. So you can have this turned on or off if you'd like. You don't have to use a schedule, but it's certainly nice to have that option if you can use it. So that is the inactivity timeout. People find that one can actually save them some money because you might not need as many GP users if you're able to use that and make sure that it's just the high-functioning ones that are in there. All right, next tool I want to show you is one of our new guys, and that is our batch review. So if we come up to the menu, this tool, like I said, was just introduced in February, and this, along with the other tools that we've added, are available in GP 2013 R2 and forward again. And what this tool is designed to do is simplify all of your different batch windows. We're basically creating one place for you to do posting, approving, deleting, and then moving transactions around. So I'll show you guys a couple of examples. First thing you get to pick is your series filter. So currently this is going to work for all of your GL batches, your sales, purchasing, and inventory batches. It does not work in payroll, and as of right now, we're not planning to add payroll as a place for this to work, but you can use it in all these other places. So if I grab my sales series, when I go to search for batches with this little lookup, I'm only seeing sales batches. I don't have to scroll between, jumping into financials or purchasing. I'm just seeing what I've got available for sales. So I'm going to grab this batch here. And what's very nice is this is showing me all of the transactions in one spot without having to print an edit list and without having to scroll through those batches, where if you're familiar with working with batches, you use the little radio buttons, and then suddenly you've jumped into a new batch and you don't know where you left off and when did it start on this new batch. We thought it was in that batch. This eliminates that. You can use these radio buttons to grab the next batch, but we're showing you every transaction right in one spot. Then you have the ability to kind of manipulate these batches. So you can come in, and if you've ever had to move transactions, you know that can be kind of a pain. So we can select as many transactions as we want and say we want to move these to a new batch. So I can grab the next batch that I want to put these in. So let's move them to our email batch. And if I hit move, it's going to empty them out of this batch. It's going to move them over. It's going to update my batch totals, my numbers of transactions, and put them in there nice and clean. That works really good if you ever get a batch header that gets damaged and you've had kind of that stuck batch and it's like, I got to go in and add this batch to every single transaction. Now you could just grab them all out of there and move them to a clean batch and not have to worry about the transactions getting damaged along the way. So that's another way to use it. Now, in addition, I'm able to drill into these transactions and actually see them in the transaction entry window. I can void, delete if I need to, so I can edit it, delete it, void it, and I can also transfer transactions. So in the case of the sales items, if I have an order that I need to transfer to an invoice, I can do that right here and actually transfer like transactions to their new transaction type. Words are hard today. So that's what I can do inside my batches. Then I still have the ability to post the batch, delete the batch, and if I'm using approvals, I can do approvals here too. So that's kind of your one-stop batch headquarters. So that is new. Another new tool is our security what if. So if I come down here, this is kind of like a cross between Toolbox and some intuitive knowledge. So you get to pick up your company again here. You can pull in a different user if you like, so I can look at whichever user I want. Let's maybe look at Tammy. But if you've ever wondered, okay, if I give someone access to this role in GP, what new stuff are they going to get? Am I going to give them security to something I shouldn't? So I can actually see that before I do it based on the security that they already have. It's going to pull that in. I can see if I want to grant that new security or revoke existing. But I can come in and I can grab a role. And let's just see what a service call agent would give her. I redisplay it, and then this is showing me everything new that Tammy will get if I give her access to that service call agent. So these are all new windows that she'll get access to. And I can print this out, so if I need to verify it, I can. Or I can simply say, yep, looks good, I'm going to grant her access here. Or again, if I wanted to take away something she already has, I can flip it and say I want to revoke it. So it's just kind of a nice place to check things out before you've actually committed to making that change. So that is also another new tool. And then I want to show you guys a few of our existing tools that are really helpful for people. And the first one is going to be our Popup Notes. So Popup Notes, I have these turned on, are basically messages that you want to get out to all of your end users. So when I open up my manual payment entry window, this window always pops up with it, hence the clever name. So this is putting some pertinent information in front of whatever user has opened this window. Verify your checkbook before processing any manual payment. Some checks have to be approved. So this is coming up every single time I open this window. I can change the frequency of how often this pops up. Maybe it's just once per login. But either way, they're always seeing this message so that it's steps that I need to follow. Important things you want to get across based on the window they're in. Now, I can also add my own notes, so a My Note. So I can come to Additional and say, enter a My Note. Maybe there's special steps that I need to take. Maybe I have to put in some additional comments or change distributions or what have you. I can put those notes in using that additional field and put those on, and then anytime this pops open, I've got my Notes for this window. And they're specific to the window you're in as well. You can add a My Note to any window in the system once you've installed Toolbox. So here I need to remember to check my distribution accounts. So that is a way for all of your end users to kind of self-train themselves too. The last option is to put in tips. So these could be tips of the day. You could put in some fun quotes. It's basically just a place where your end user isn't required to see that, but it's going to flow down to all those additional windows that you plug it into. So those are the 3 different types of notes that we have with GP Toolbox. So those, again, are specific to your actual windows in GP. Next one I'm going to show you guys is also hidden up in this window, and it is our period open and close. So this is going to be helpful for any of you in the finance department that have to close different periods. Basically, what we allow you to do is you select your fiscal year that you're looking to close, and if you have more than one company, you can close them all at one time. So currently I'm just looking at Fabricam, but I have customers that have, one gentleman had 138 companies. So he could close all of those fiscal periods one by one, or the whole year, or just a series, simply by clicking open or close. So we're going to say we had a couple more here. We could check mark those. Now I can come in and select my different periods. And if I want to close those, I can do it based on individual module, all my series, or the whole fiscal year. So if I wanted to close the sales series for those places, I can see here we closed those 3 periods in the sales series. So very, very handy if you get a little bit cross-eyed looking at this particular window and trying to double click on open, close, open, close. It can be a little tedious. So, and also there's a good chance for error in that because you're staring at the screen and it is kind of small. So think of how much time that could save you if you have more than one company. It's really fast. You can also generate your next fiscal year for all of your companies at one time. So you just click on that and it'll do it for all companies. So that is our period open and close. And then I'm going to show you just a couple other tools here, and then I'm going to let you ask questions if you have them. Otherwise, I'll let you go. Mentor is another tool that everyone has access to, and that is this little block M at the top of your screen. And this is kind of like our SmartFill product for finding windows in GP. So you can essentially tell Mentor whatever you're looking for. So if I know I'm looking for paid trans something, these are windows that you might not go to very often. Maybe you're new to the navigation in GP and you don't know your way around yet. Maybe it's, that year-end close window that you only see once a year. Whatever it is, you search for it, hit tab, and we will go through every menu in all of your third parties as well as GP and bring back the closest results. So here is the paid sales transaction removal that I was looking for. It's going to kind of teach you the path. So if you wanted to navigate to it, you could. Or you can simply double click here and it's going to open that window right up for you. You can also add shortcuts from this. So if you're going to use that window on a regular basis, go ahead and add a shortcut and we'll drop it over on the side for you. But it can save you a lot of that additional time that it would take you to go browsing around and finding it. Likewise, you have a security button up here if you are a Toolbox administrator. So if I have a new user come to me and say, hey, this is someplace I need to get to, and I get a message that I can't access it, rather than pulling up Security Manager, I can pull up my Mentor. I can search that same window, hit my security button, and this is going to give me that same information out of Security Manager. So I can see that this particular window lives in this task, and it's associated with these 3 roles. So if I wanted to even take it a step further, I could pull in a user. So let's grab Tammy. I could select a company, and I could give her security to this window or to this role right from this window. So I could double click and say, yep, let's give her access to the AR clerk. As long as I have a green checkbox, I do have access to it, but I'm giving her access to that whole role. So you might want to drill in here too, just to verify what's all in the role. But you can do it right from here, and it's a lot easier than going around and hunting for that window. So that is Mentor, and that is a tool that everyone in the system can use. And the last one I'm going to show you guys is Inspector. So I'm going to pull this guy open. So Inspector is great for any of you that are in charge of creating smart lists, authoring reports, or writing SQL queries. If you've ever tried to use the option of tools, tables, resources, and try to figure out what table makes up a window, you have struggled, and you probably banged your head against your monitor a couple of times. This takes the pain out of that by basically giving you all of the information that makes up a window. So you open it up and you browse. So about as easy as it gets. Let's say we want to look at some summary information. It's got to be a window that was currently closed. So once you open it up, this is going to tell me all of the tables that make up this vendor credit summary window. So I can see exactly what goes into it, but if I want to go into tables contain this field and tab through it, I can see exactly what fields I want to pull onto a report, which is really nice. So if I want to look at this unapplied balance or an aging balance, current balance, you can just keep tabbing through. If you want to get more information on a field, so here's the vendor master field, I can open this up and it's going to show me every column and field in that table, as well as all of the primary key information. So makes writing a report really, really easy, especially when you can get some of these physical names if you need to pull those into scripts. So that is the Inspector tool. And really this is available for anyone to use. It's not a locked tool by any means. So your end users could use that too if that's something that they'd be curious about or want to kind of play around with. So those were the main tools that I wanted to show you guys out of the GP Toolbox. Again, that product, you purchase it as a whole and you get all of those tools and you just decide which ones you guys want to turn on. So very cool that way. One thing I want to mention just specifically for those of you on the webinar today is that you guys get 15% off of any new Rockton software product now through May 31st. So we are coming to your event and we're going to offer this promotion at your event as well, but since you guys were on the call, you get a little early access to this about a month in advance. So we do offer free trials of all of our products, so you can test them out, make sure you like them before you buy them. And any of the girls at Artis would be happy to help you get in touch with me and we can get you set up if that's something you're interested in. But I will turn it back over to Chelsea and we can wrap it up if there's any questions.
I don't have any additional questions in at this time, so if anyone has any questions, please go ahead and put them in the question box of your GoToWebinar, so just a small side window, and I can go ahead and wrap up here, and then if any questions come in between now and then, we can answer them for you guys. So I think we have some contact information here. So there's me, myself, Chelsea, and Aaron, and our email addresses or phone numbers. So if you do have any questions following this, feel free to reach out, or any questions about anything. We will be your main point of contact. And again, we look forward to seeing everyone at Vision. So if you haven't registered, we encourage you to do that. It's a good day of learning and networking. So I think that's all we've got. So no other questions have come in. Thank you guys all for attending, and we'll talk to you soon.